with the first pick.
Welcome to 97.7 ZOW's Rock Draft. Now, here's your host, Rod Morgan.
Your mama don't dance and your daddy don't rock draft, but we do. Hello, everyone. Rod here again. We are going to put together a legendary 5 American band lineup, and we're going to do it with 5 rock and roll DJs. And we aren't going to decide the winner. You are. Let's draft. We are going to do a snake draft. If any of you out there have participated in a fantasy league, you have probably done a draft like this. We will have picks 1 through 5, and then in the second round, it will flip. The 5th pick will actually pick first. You'll follow along as we go. As Gary mentioned in the top there, no solo acts unless the solo act has a band that's considered part of their title. I think you know who I'm talking about here. 2 rather large American bands certainly qualify here, even though they seem more like solo acts. They qualify. And I think that's about it. You will be the ultimate decider here. Clint is going to fight for his team. Gary's going to fight for his team. Brad's going to fight for his team. I and Frank are going to do the same. And then it's up to you to vote. We'll have the list up on our Facebook page. We'll have the list below the podcast here, wherever you're watching on YouTube or Spotify. You vote for your winners. The impartial producer of this podcast, Jimmy Jamriska, figured out the draft order before we started recording, and Brad King was blessed with the number 1 overall pick. So, Brad, you will start off Rock Draft. American rock bands in honor of America 250. Let's go.
All right. Well, first, in honor of America, I'm going to crack a beer because there's.
There we go.
Yeah. Oh, what the hell? I
should have thought of that.
Here. Damn,
I got Mountain Dew.
There you go. See, now this is tough. This is again the downside of the snake order is I've got to come out with a really good pick right out of the gate because I'm not picking again for another 9 selections.
Well, come on, we all know who you're picking.
Yeah, I'm going to have to.
Right.
I have to.
We talked about this earlier. I already know.
Yeah, I mean, it's everyone knows I'm going with Smash Mouth. I mean, that's obvious. No.
Hey, now.
Shit.
No, obviously I'm going to go with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Hey, TP and the Heartbreakers.
This should be no surprise to anybody that knows me. So yes, there is some personal bias in there. They are my favorite band, but also I feel like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. I mean, they are a quintessential Americana band. Not only do they have the success on their side, massive amount of success covering, I mean, if you're just talking record sales and radio hits spanning 3 decades, 70s, 80s, and 90s, selling out arenas and all of that. But also, their songs have really stood the test of time. And these days you almost can't go to a concert or a bar band and not hear a Tom Petty song, not hear, Free Fallin' or American Girl or, something to that effect. And Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers are one of those bands that almost everybody loves, like you don't run into people, almost any big band, you're going to find somebody that goes, I don't like them. I don't like their sound or they're overrated, whatever. That doesn't really happen with Tom Petty. Even if someone's not a huge fan, they're still like, oh yeah, Petty's cool. Yeah, I can listen to Petty. So that's my case for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers as the number 1 choice.
Pretty unassailable. I think there was a couple of people I thought were going number 1. I was happy to not have the pressure of having to make the first pick. Clint, do you have any holes you can poke in Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers?
Florida is kind of one of the bands I had in mind, So, no, I think it's the obvious pick.
Yep, I think there's no surprises here. He didn't throw a left at us here at all. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, that's a good one. Let's go to pick number 2. I have to go back to the draft board. I don't even remember who pick number 2 was. It's Frank. Frankie, you have pick number 2.
All right. Well, everybody knows a little bit about me, kind of grew up in a trailer park, been around racing and all the hillbilly stuff, redneck style life my entire life. Always been a huge Southern rock fan. Um, I I have to pick. I struggle with my top three because I was a big fan of all of these, but I don't think anybody, to me, for the kind of sound that I love, tops Leonard Skinner. Skinner.
Yeah,
I want
nice.
to do Skinner straight out of Jacksonville, Florida. Band members like Gary Roston, just an incredible guitar player. They've had, even though going back to what Gary said, no original members at the moment. Just losing Gary
Which band?
Roston recently, Skinner.
Skinner? Okay.
Losing, of course, Gary very recently. But they've come
Was
back well.
was Ricky
They do well.
was Ricky Medlock with how long? I mean, is he with them now?
He's with them now, and I mean he's been with them since the '80s, I believe, since early.
Yeah, I mean, a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I
you,
didn't realize it.
and you have a Van Zandt. I mean, you have a member of the family,
Yeah.
as your front man still. So
And he does a phenomenal job. So they still put out albums. They're still selling out shows. To me, my pick is going to be Leonard Skinner. I totally missed the Ricky Medlock, so butcher me if you will. I apologize, but as a Skinner fan, my entire life, I've got to go with those guys. I think that's my number one pick there.
Power of the bird.
Go ahead.
Is Michael Cardelloni still drumming for them, right? For Skinner? Are you familiar with him?
I don't believe so.
He played with the damn Yankees.
I don't know.
Yeah, but Marco Cardelloni, he played with the damn Yankees with Ted and Tommy and Jack Blades, but he played with Skinner for a lot of years, and I think he's still with them, and he's a fantastic drummer.
These
Have to
legacy
search that
acts,
up.
they usually have like family members, right, or guys that have toured with them at certain times. You know what I mean? So there's always connections that still bring you back to the original stuff. So nobody's making fun of you, Frankie, for still loving Skinner and wanting to see him on tour. Nothing wrong with that at all.
No.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
No.
Let's go to the professor, the man who brings you night school every night right around 9 o'clock. Clint, what do you got for us at pick number 3?
Oh, okay. So we've got a theme already of like our favorite bands, right? Tom Petty and Leonard Skinner. And I'm going to go with my favorite band too, but not because they're my favorite band of all time, but they are one of the quintessential West Coast rock and roll bands. They were there at the very beginning of the West Coast scene. Two of the greatest songwriters of all time. Their songs are part of the canon of American rock and roll. So my first pick is going to be the Eagles. Huge fan. Of course, Glenn Frey, Don Henley, as far as a songwriting duo, you put their name up there with Lennon and McCartney and Jagger and Richards and all the other songwriting duos. Two fabulous singers, great musicians. I mean, you just hard to go wrong. Amazing. I mean, Hotel California is still, one of the most iconic albums of all time. And, the diversity of the sound with the Eagles from the early stuff where it's that California, almost country.
Yeah, very country.
I worked in country radio for a while, and early on in country radio played Eagles songs, right? A lot of what they were doing as rock and roll, we call country now. So their influence is wide and deep. I mean, they influence country acts and singer-songwriters. So my pick for round one is the Eagles.
One of the great things about the Eagles, and I mean, I'm sure we'll come into this with other bands as we continue down the list, but the Eagles had multiple personnel changes, and really every iteration has been successful and has put out great music. Especially through that first initial run through the the 70s into the early 80s. Before they broke up and whatever, 80, 81, between Randy Meisner and Timothy B. Schmidt and Joe Walsh and Bernie Ledden, all of those personnel changes, they still managed to stay successful and actually get more successful.
Well, and to that point, Brad, not only did the personnel change, but when the personnel changed, the sound of the band changed. The
Right.
new personnel brought in a different sound. So when Bernie Ledden left, he was the banjo player, right? I mean,
Yeah.
when he left, that's when they kind of started departing from that country thing. And then when Joe Walsh came in, the twin guitar, rock and roll Hotel California thing
Yeah.
happened. So, but each new member brought a new dimension to the band, which I also
Pretty safe to pick the band that has the greatest selling album of all time as a band in a rock draft where you're looking for votes from people. Pretty safe to go there. And shout out to Linda Ronstadt, who had enough sense to hire these guys as their backing band, and then also enough sense to say, you guys are too good to keep playing backup for me. You should probably go do something else.
get out.
Gary Hagelin, my man, the old man of rock. We call him that lovingly. What do you got for us? I picked 4.
Well, I tell you what, it's great being here with you guys. This is fun. I won't go long, but I had those bands on my list, so I can't pick those. And I've got a really tough choice, but I'm gonna go with Cheap Trick.
There we go.
Okay. This is our first real surprise.
I want you to want me.
I mean, live at Budokan. I mean, I listened to Surrender back in the late 70s, mid to late 70s. One of the coolest frontmen in rock, Rick Nielsen. He can barely put on his big old guitar these days, the old six guitar deal. But yeah, I mean, just a great band through the years. So I got to go with Cheap Trick, Rockford, Illinois.
Bold
Midwest.
choice, Mr. Hageland. Bold choice.
I like it. I absolutely like it. Peace Pizza as well. Shout out to our pizza fans out there. Rick Nielsen's big in the pizza game these days. Owns that restaurant. They do rather well. They do rather well with music as well. So I like him as a pick, Gary.
Hey, I was just saying, he's also like
right, Frankie,
almost every
research.
other rock star, he also is in the liquor business.
Exactly. Frankie over here doing research, getting ready for his next pick. He'll be up soon enough. But I am now up for the turn, which means I will get 2 picks in a row. I'm excited about that. I get a shape, I think, the way that the next round will roll on a little bit. I'm also going to tell you guys something right now. I only need 1 letter for both of my picks, and it's the letter A. I'm going to stay at the beginning of the alphabet. Give me one of the greatest selling American hard rock bands of all time in Aerosmith, with 150 million albums sold globally, with over 40 top 40 singles in the history of the top 200 charts. They've got hits in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. They've got a roller coaster named after them. Their daughter helped save the world from being obliterated by an asteroid.
Yeah.
Give me Aerosmith. And then Frankie talked a little bit about Southern rock when he talked about Leonard Skinner. Leonard Skinner is really, really good, but give me Dwayne Allman any day of the week. Widely considered the second greatest guitar player of all time behind Jimi Hendrix. And the thing that I find the coolest about the Allman Brothers is, I'll take you back to my high school days. I could go to a party with the hippies and they were listening to the Allman Brothers. I could go to a party on Pretty Lake with the rich kids and they were listening to the Allman Brothers. I could go to a party on the wrong side of town and there'd be some of the biker kids hanging around and they were listening to the Allman Brothers. And then I could go to a bonfire out in the country near Argus and they were also listening to the Allman Brothers. They are universally loved. I have an Eat a Peach for Peace t-shirt that I have been stopped literally 9 times in my life by bikers at gas stations telling me how much they love the Allman Brothers and how much they love that t-shirt. So I'm going Aerosmith, Allman Brothers, 2 solid picks on my roster.
I can't argue with either of them. Both great choices. Allman Brothers, Dwayne Allman, man, it's one of those bands you think, what would have happened had he not died at what? How old was he? 24, 25, 26? I mean,
really young.
How far would he have gone had he not?
I'll promise you one thing. If Dwayne Allman was around, there's no way he's letting Greg Allman record I'm No Angel. There's absolutely zero chance I'm No Angel happens if Dwayne Allman
was
is
around.
still
Greg would have had to have.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's no chance that happens. And the other thing I didn't mention about either of those bands, both first ballot Rock and Roll Hall of Fame members. All right, that works just like it does in sports. Not every band gets in the first time they're up on the ballot. Both of those guys got in the first year they were on the ballot. So I'm pretty safe with my 2 picks, gentlemen. I feel pretty good.
No debate.
Yep, two very solid picks.
Gary, my man, you get your second pick because that's how the snake works. We're going back up.
Oh, man. Oh boy. All right. I didn't realize that.
But this is good for you, right? Because then whoever you didn't get to take first, right? Unless you were looking at
Yeah.
Aerosmith and the Allman Brothers, they're still
Who
sitting
was
there
your
for
second? Who was your
well,
second
I,
choice?
I'm really torn here. Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble.
All right.
I love that.
Good
I didn't
choice.
even
Yeah, I gotta
consider
do
them, Gary. I didn't even consider them.
Yeah.
That's such a good pick.
I got to say, Gary, I had them on my list.
Did you?
Yeah,
Nice.
sure did. Sure did.
I mean, there are some really good ones. But yeah, it's tough. But yeah, I got to go with that. I mean, holy cow! I was able to see
I
him
love
at
seeing
the
Brad
Morris
put his glasses on. I got to fix
in like
this.
88,
Oh,
1988.
wow. That's awesome. I was going to ask you, what's your favorite? What's your favorite Stevie, Gary? What's your favorite Stevie? You like Little Wing? You like Sky is Crying? What's your favorite Stevie? Life by the Drop? What are you
Couldn't
going to
stand
give
the
me?
weather.
Oh, okay.
Oh man,
yeah.
I tell you what, the Sky,
Incredible.
his version of the Sky is makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck. Yeah,
Sure does,
SRV
man.
all the way.
Yeah.
Do you think you've ever seen anybody sweat more playing guitar on stage than Stevie Ray Vaughan? And secondary
Probably
question to
not.
that, if you were able to take some of Stevie Ray Vaughan's sweat in a vial, how high would you get off of Stevie Ray Vaughan's sweat? Because how much cocaine is sweating out of Stevie Ray Vaughan's skin?
My question to that was about to be, have you ever been as high as he is on stage sweating like that?
I was gonna say, man. You know, Stevie was one of the greats, but Stevie, he died in a helicopter crash, but he probably would have been one of those that we were lost early anyway. He was living fast.
On his performance at Austin City Limits, there may be more than one, but there's one, and he's literally floating in his cowboy boots during, I can't remember which song, but yeah, pull that one up sometime. Stevie Ray Vaughan, Austin City Limits.
Nice. That's a good call, Gary.
Anyway, big Stevie Ray Vaughan fan.
Awesome, dude. Awesome.
I mean, you're a phenomenal guitar player when David Bowie recognizes your talent and asks you to play on an album and on tour. You're pretty good.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I was a little bit behind because I was always raised on outlaw country and like going all the way back to like Tex Ritter and things like that, like early 40s, 50s style country music, bluegrass, things like that. I didn't get into rock and roll until about the time I was around 11, 12 years old. I was in a church band. Can't believe that, I'm sure, but I was in a church band for a while. And Stevie Ray was a massive influence to me. And he had a Strat. My first guitar was at Sunburst Strat. My mama bought me. And then we found that, Gary, I think you have one, like that cream color Strat. And that has been one of my favorite guitars for the last 20 years. Just the color of it, the sound of it, that's Stevie Ray Vaughan playing the Strat to me was just incredible. So it's always been something to me, and to see him play a Les Paul, which he did, was just still to this day to be odd, but incredible. So
Stevie Ray Vaughan playing guitar, Austin City Limits, America at its finest. I love it. We're doing an episode to celebrate America. That's America at its finest right there. Stevie Ray doing his thing on Austin City Limits. Frankie, your second pick, my man. You're up.
So Brad and I were talking earlier about some surprises. I'm going to do Montrose.
Wait, no, Frank's not up. Clint's up. I don't think Clint was going to take Montrose, but I just messed up the draft order there, didn't I? Because Frank, you're the second pick.
Brad?
Well, I'm going to do Montrose then. No.
Woo!
I've already screwed up with Brad the
No,
last
that
2
was-
days. I don't need to screw up again outside of
that was my bad. That was my bad.
Yeah, no.
It is Clint's
Frank.
pick.
Frank, I'll save Montrose for you. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll save Montrose for you. So I'm gonna pick for my next pick what is probably, and I'm gonna take heat for this. I know I am, but what is probably the least talented band on the list. Okay, but in terms of just influence and total massive size, and just a band that just influenced a generation of young male teen rock and rollers, you got to go with Kiss. Come on, the hottest band in the land, Kiss.
Kiss.
Talented musicians? Nah, maybe not so much, but their influence, really good records, good
Oh.
songs. Are they Rush? Are they Montrose? Nah, probably not. But come on, Kiss is one of
No,
the
huge.
in the pantheon of
Hmm.
rock and roll, the theatrics that they brought to the stage, the influence, the comic. I mean, they were a cultural phenomenon and put out some pretty good music, particularly the first two albums, which I think are their best albums in their library. So my second pick, hottest band in the land, Kiss.
Yeah, Kiss is. I mean, I agree with pretty much everything you just said there, Clint. I mean, Kiss has never been known, for their songwriting prowess,
No,
or their musical abilities. Although Ace Frehley was a damn good guitar player.
not saying they were
Ace,
bad.
yeah, Ace was a very good guitar player. But Kiss they're a fun band, and yeah, I mean their impact and yeah, just their stage presence. Again, if you want to talk about American excess
Over
and
the top. Yeah.
American bombast,
Yep.
it's Kiss.
Absolutely. And think about
And
when Ace passed away several months ago, the tributes from like amazing guitar
Yeah.
players who came out and spoke in tribute to Ace Frehley when he passed away. I mean, that just speaks to the influence not only of Ace, but of the band. And sure, they were a bigger marketing machine than they were,
Yeah.
a musical force, but they put the whole thing together and nobody had a bigger, more uh, cultural impact in the United States in the 70s and 80s than Kiss.
And then going along with what you said, if my memory serves me correctly, which it sometimes does, sometimes doesn't, but they are the best-selling band with merch of all time. Is that correct?
Well, they're still selling merch, so probably
I mean,
so.
I mean,
Probably.
if you're gonna be buried in a Kiss casket, I mean, I would think that
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I wouldn't go that far, but I mean, it's available
Right.
still to this day. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations. Clint took a corporation instead of a rock band. That clears things up
Yes,
for me.
I did.
Absolutely.
I took a marketing firm.
Yep, I absolutely appreciate that. The listeners do not want to hear my thoughts on Kiss. We're just going to move along. We are just going to move along. We know who Frank's next draft pick is.
All right, Frank, how
Montrose.
about Montrose?
yeah, man, kind of a
Montrose.
I think a forgotten style band. Of course, Sammy Hagar and Ronnie Montrose. He was on guitar there, and he played with Van Morrison, Boss Skaggs, Edgar Winter. Kind of a like off to the side type deal. Sammy Hagar, I believe, becoming the biggest thing. Obviously, out of that band, you get the question of Van Halen or Van Hagar. Personally, I'm a Van Hagar fan. I probably wouldn't go see DLR if he was in my living room and I was in the bedroom. But again, Montrose had a great sound. And I think it's like a forgotten sided band. So kind of kicked off the curb for a while, but a lot of folks remember Sammy Hagar being a part of that. And I don't really have a lot more to say about Montrose than that.
Everybody that just joined the podcast late, which doesn't happen in the podcast world, everybody would have had to be with us from the beginning, but they just came in for the sexual innuendo portion of the American rock band draft. We had Kiss, and then we had Montrose with Rock Candy. Both of those songs right there, right back to back for everybody there. Just, you know what? But hey, sex sells, right? And as Clint said, Kiss sold an awful lot. Montrose got themselves a big hit with that one, and Sammy Hagar went on to sell everybody an awful lot of tequila. So again, corporations tie into American rock bands because what's more American than making a boatload of money? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Capitalism, Capitalism.
I have really no problem with it. I have a huge problem with Kiss, but I have no problem with people making money. I really don't. Brad, the snake draft has left you hanging for quite a while, but we are finally back to you.
You know what? I am very pleasantly surprised. And I'm going to go with the far more successful band that featured Sammy Hagar. And I'm going to go with Van Halen as my next pick. I'm stunned that they are still on the board. But I mean, Van Halen I mean, boy, what can you say? You talk about a band that had two distinctive eras both massively successful, the Diamond Dave era and the Van Hagar era. You have the Van Halen brothers who, were not born in America, but moved to America at a very young age. They formed the band in California. Eddie Van Halen, many would say, is the greatest guitar player of all time. Certainly top three. If you want to put Jimmy above him and, whoever else. But, Van Halen is just, again, when it comes to arena rock, when it comes to guitar rock, it doesn't get much bigger and better than Van Halen.
I also remember being a kid and just absolutely loving the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge album, right? Like I couldn't get enough of the wordplay that Van Halen was throwing out for me there when I was a kid when that album came out. Because I remember the David Lee Roth videos from MTV, right? As a youngster growing up, I'm Just a Gigolo and the California Girls, but that was David Lee Roth solo, right? After he'd already left Van Halen,
right?
So I had to catch up to Van Halen basically as a back catalog, and then I was like, David Lee Roth used to be in Van Halen, now it's Sammy Hagar, and I was confused by all of it. But Gary, you were around for it. Tell us what was it like when David Lee Roth left Van Halen? Were you skeptical of Sammy Hagar coming in?
No, actually, I really enjoyed 5150. I thought it was a pretty doggone good album. But, yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I'm a DLR guy from the old days. I'm not going to lie. And I just get bugged that Sammy still talks about Van Halen all the time, but whatever. But, yeah, good times. I mean, what a great band. It's a great pick, Brad.
Clint, where do you come down on Van Halen, Van Hagar?
Admittedly, I've never been a huge Van Halen fan. They're just not a band I listened to a lot when they were out. Although I love The Cradle Will Rock. It's probably my favorite Van Halen song. Personally, I think Van Halen is a better band musically with Sammy Hagar in the band. I just think Eddie took the opportunity to try some different things. And musically, I think they're a far more interesting band with Sammy Hagar in the band. Showmanship wise, they were probably better with David Lee Roth as the front man, right? So
Yeah.
like Brad said, they're almost like they were two different bands in two different eras. They had their big 80s hair band showmanship era, and then they got serious when Sammy Hagar joined the band. I personally prefer the Van Hagar music over the David Lee Roth music, but respectfully not a huge fan of the band one way or another.
Yeah. I just want to say one thing. If you get a chance, check out A Different Kind of Truth. It was released in 2011. It was the last Van Halen album. Eddie was sober, totally sober, and it was with Dave, and it was with Wolfgang. But it's a phenomenal album that didn't get any press or credit, really. They had the tour, which was successful, but then Eddie. But anyway, it was kind of full circle with Dave, I feel. But it's worth checking that album out because it's like Van Halen 1 and 2 with better production, in a way. It's just really, and Dave was on. He's off now, we all know, but
Seen
he's
the
still
video.
trying. He's still trying, but I would check that album out. But yeah, I mean, you got to give them both credit. I mean, and you can't forget Gary Cherone, for God's sakes.
Yeah. More than words.
More than words.
Poor Gary.
I think something that brought Van Halen to an entirely new audience was, I may be biased here, but like a big Twister fan. 96, the album comes out with the movie Humans Being. It was the probably one of the most intense scenes of the movie. The video came out incorporating scenes from the movie that I believe put that in front of an audience who may have never been introduced to Van Halen. And I think that did them really well going forward as well. So
that's a bold statement.
Yeah. I promise you guys, that song sounded amazing coming out of the rickety drive-in speakers at the Triway Drive-In Theater down in Plymouth where I originally saw Twister.
I want to hear what you got to say about that.
Triway.
Brad, I want to hear what you got to say about that.
He's got another pick.
I said that's a bold statement. I mean, to say
Yeah, it just we're
Yeah,
gonna be
I
here all
mean, just
night.
by 96 when and I love Humans Being, that is actually one of my favorite Van Hagar songs. Um, I mean, but by 96, I mean, Van Halen was so huge, that I don't know if there was much of a portion of the population left that had not heard of Van Halen by
I
that
agree with
point.
you,
But
Brad. I'm not sure how much credit we need to give to Jan de Bont. I
Yeah.
agree with you.
I'm just saying, like, coming from where I came from
Great
as
movie.
growing up, I mean, I was, only 4.5 when the movie came out. So to me, that opened a
God,
whole
you
new
are
door for
young.
me. Okay. All right.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yep. Frank, you're just stalling so you can do
Yep.
more research for your next pick. That's all
Yep.
right. Brad's got one more here on the turn.
Yeah, so
Okay, Brad, your turn.
All right. Man, like this is tough now. What direction I want to go, but I got to go with another big heavy hitter, and I'm going to go with Metallica. I mean, just
Wherever I may
the
roam.
one of, if not the most successful heavy metal bands of all time. Um, I mean, again, their influence undeniable. Another band that now, I mean, your hardcore fans are certainly going to argue about the different Metallica eras and, which era is the best and which eras are worth listening to. I know there are very hardcore fans that say the band died after Master of Puppets and 1986 and that's it. Everything after it doesn't count.
I think that's a great pick, Brad. I had them on my list too. And when I did my list, I focused less on commercial sales, and although that was part of it, but I really focused on influence because, again, I think like Kiss, for example, the Eagles, a huge influence, and I think you're not going to find a band who's had more influence on not only the metal genre, obviously, but even just kind of regular rock and roll and even like grunge and Seattle music. I think you have to look at Metallica when you think about Nirvana and when you think about, some of these Seattle bands. So I think that's a fabulous pick. And I did have them on my list. Great pick.
Metallica killed Napster. I'm never
Yeah,
going
I
to
mean,
forgive Lars Ulrich for that.
again, just
I know, but Apple loves him.
They sure
yeah,
do.
but again, just a massive, massive band, and still really, really good live.
No denying that.
Great.
No denying that. All right, Frankie, you're up, my man.
All right. So I again, probably not a big surprise here, but going Molly Hatchet. I think that they deserve to be in this.
Nice.
Steve Holland, you got Banner Thomas, and you got Flirting with Disaster, Beating the Odds. I think two of those albums right there really shaped what may become like a Southern rock style of sound. Whiskey Man. In that time, there were folks painting the album covers on the cars. Molly Hatchet, just with that like kind of shrill style sound, was something that folks had not been used to, but did take over an entire crowd to themselves. And Flirting with Disaster, of course, I think one of the greatest songs of all time. So great guitar solo, and between their album art and their stage presence, they just become a style of their own, I believe.
I knew Frankie was going to take Molly Hatchet because in our episode about driving songs, he took Flirting with Disaster. So I was privy to all that. You guys didn't have that information that I did.
I saw
I don't
Molly
have much to
Hatchet
say about
open
Molly
for the
Hatchet, I gotta
Charlie
be honest.
Daniels Band.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
he
saw
asked
Molly
me,
Hatchet
he's
open
like,
with the Charlie Daniels Band, like in the late 70s.
yeah, he's like,
That's a good double
you-
bill.
Yeah, it was. That was during The Devil Went Down to Georgia
Yeah.
was a hit at the time. And I think they
Yeah.
played Riverfront Coliseum in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Nice.
that would have been incredible. Yeah. So my ex-wife, going back to the Molly Hatchet thing, showed her dad showed me a picture of a Thunderbird he used to have that had the Flirting with Disaster album cover painted on the trunk when he was younger, which I thought was pretty cool. So you know,
Did more people have Molly Hatchet or the General Lee painted on their car? You decide. You out there in podcast land, you guys decide. Let's go. Clint, you got your third pick in the rock draft.
Yeah. So this is the first one that's a tough one for me because there's obviously one huge band out there that somebody's going to pick, and I just don't know if I want to do that or not. Um, I'm I'm not. I'm going to go with another Southern band. We kind of got a Southern thing going on here, but although I don't consider them part of the Southern rock genre necessarily, I'm going to pick ZZ Top as my
Hey,
next selection.
you got
I
me.
think ZZ Top again, you know, that
Really good
little band from Texas, you know,
Yep.
just the music, the way that again they were able to start as this little blues band in Texas. To Gary's point earlier, the original band stayed together for a long time until Dusty Hill's passing, and then they hired the guitar tech who had been with them for 30 years or whatever. But then ZZ Top kind of made that transition from the big hats and the nudie suits in the early days to the MTV era, with Sharp Dressed Man and the car and the fuzzy guitars. And they were huge when MTV came out. So another band who was just able to adapt, just put out great music year after year after year after year. I must admit I'm a fan of the older stuff, but I like it all. So my pick is ZZ Top.
You got me on that one, man, because that wasn't my next
really,
pick.
really good pick. And
Yeah, not surprised.
I believe that is probably going to be the only choice tonight that can also put cameo appearance in Back to the Future trilogy on their resume.
Let's go. Let's
I hadn't
go.
thought about that, but I think you're right.
Don't spoil this for me, man. You know I still ain't seen it all. Don't spoil that for me. Just a youngin' here.
Jesus just left Chicago waiting for the bus. That's a ZZ Top I love to shout out, man. Clint, like you were saying, the early days. I love that. I love the rock and roll double
Absolutely.
song.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorites right there.
Yeah, I mean, LaGrange is one of my favorite songs of all time from any artist. I mean, when I'm in the studio and Brad's got LaGrange in my show, it's like crank up the headphones, man. just all my ears ring when I'm done with it. It's so good.
You got to love a song about a house of ill repute. Perhaps Gary's band, for his next choice, also has a song about a house of ill repute. Gary, who do you got for your next pick?
Oh man, it's tough. But I got to go with the gut. I got to go with Boston. That first album. Oh my God!
I got to pause right here.
Again,
Clint,
I'm showing my age.
Clint, you intimated at it. There is a huge name that is sitting out there right now that has not been drafted. I am really surprised by an absolutely huge name that has not been drafted yet.
Right. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough, but I got to go with Boston.
So
right.
Gary, I just had the conversation this weekend with somebody about the question, is Boston's first album the greatest debut album of all time?
It's pretty dang close. I mean, it's up there. There's no question.
There it is.
I remember wearing that album out. Yeah.
Oh,
So, Brad Delp was amazing vocalist. I mean, holy cow. So I got to go with Boston.
good pick.
Boston.
And by the way, the answer is yes. It is the greatest debut album of all
There
time.
you go.
The answer is yes.
Love that.
Yeah,
Love that. All right.
I like it.
So that goes back to me then, I believe. I believe I have the draft pick order right. I had that slip up earlier. I'm pretty sure that I've been following along with the correct order at this point. I have another back-to-back picks. I got to admit, I did not think that by the time I got to my third and fourth picks, I would have this particular gentleman sitting here for me to take. But I am now considering passing on him like everybody else continues to pass on him as well, because a few other bands that I didn't think were going to be sitting around here are also sitting around here. So while I decide that, I'm going to take one band I knew I was taking at the turn. You guys spoke of grunge music before. You spoke of Seattle. Let me go with my all-time favorite band. Let me go with the band I have seen live in concert 12 different times. Let me see the band that I have been down on the field at Wrigley Field, stage front, seeing perform live, and that is Pearl Jam. Yeah, see, producer Jimmy knew exactly where I was going there before I even had to say it. Pearl Jam was up. I've seen almost 120 live concerts in my lifetime, and nothing will compare to seeing Pearl Jam on the field at Wrigley Field, rain hitting the stadium, me being ushered under the scoreboard at Wrigley Field in amongst the ivy and the bricks while the rain delay passes, going back out onto the field, and Pearl Jam covering the Rain song by the Beatles as it was still raining. I will always remember that till my dying day.
Nice.
Love Pearl Jam. 10 million copies of their album 10. You guys were just talking about debut albums. They sold over 10 million copies of their debut album 10. You want to talk about touring? Pearl Jam's still doing it every other year. They're selling out huge stadiums. They're performing in Europe. They're performing in South America. They're like the Grateful Dead. You never hear the same show. I could go on for Pearl Jam for another 45 minutes, but I won't. That's my pick there.
Excellent pick.
Heading to Seattle.
Yeah. No arguments here.
All right. So, do I take an absolute American icon, a man who literally has a song called Born in the USA? Do I take that man now, or do I take a duo of some absolute legendary studio musicians who are fabulous songwriters and who gave birth to a type of music they don't want to own, but they are absolutely the kings of? That is where I'm at right now. And the heart wants what the heart wants.
Yes, you should take Hall & Oates. Do it.
Hall & Oates is not yacht rock. We will talk about that in a future episode, Clint. Hall & Oates is not yacht rock. I am going to take Steely Dan. The heart wants what the heart wants. I would much rather have Steely Dan than I would have Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. I think those guys are... They were a band that I missed out on in my early days, right? I, like so many people that missed out on classic rock, I got brought up on the Beatles first, then Led Zeppelin, then The Who, then CCR, then you're into Boston and all the 70s American stuff. Steely Dan is a band that you don't learn enough about. And then when you finally gain an appreciation for what real music is, for what studio masters can do, and you put on Asia, your life has changed. I know I sound like a complete musical hipster nerd, but the album Asia is musically 100% perfect. Bulletproof Steely Dan.
Yeah, that's a great pick. And Rob, like you, I came to Steely Dan late to the party, right? I just, or when I was younger, didn't get them until I was older. And now well, Rod, the other guys, Rod actually texted me earlier today trying to decide which one of us was going to get to Steely Dan first. And he beat me to it. And I just bought, so at the last South Bend record show, I just bought Gaucho and Pretzel Logic on vinyl, just two amazing albums to listen to. So I think it's a terrific pick. I think it's a fly under the radar pick, but a fabulous pick nonetheless.
Heart wants what the heart wants.
Yeah,
I love me some
really-
Steely Dan.
Yeah, strong choice. I mean, they were on my list as potentials as well.
All right, Gary, we're going back to you as we round back up towards the top.
I got to go with the Steve Miller Band.
Big old jet airliner. Let's go.
All right, good pick.
He formed his first band in the 50s. Longevity.
He's a joker. He's a
I
smoker.
don't know.
He's a midnight toker. Some people call him Maurice.
The Midnight
Some people
Toker,
call him
man.
Rod Morgan.
Yeah. I interviewed him on the phone once, and
Nice.
he was fantastic. And I've seen him, and yeah, that guy can play the guitar. I mean, he's an amazing guitar player, better than people know. I mean, he's got his hits, but yeah, got to go with Steve Miller Band.
Solid choice. The pride of Milwaukee.
I saw Stevie Miller in concert once.
Do I get two in a row?
No, you're not. You never have the snake. It goes back to Clint. It's Clint's pick.
All right, so my next pick is going to be a little bit, left field a little bit. Maybe not kind of what we think of as the mainstream classic rock American band, but in my mind, they're one of the quintessential bands of American punk rock and just American 90s, 2000s rock and roll. I'm going to go with Green Day out of California because I just think when you look at their success, which is one of the measures here, number of albums sold, the concerts, Woodstock 99 or whatever year that was. It's hard to go wrong
94
with
was
Green
the
Day.
mud.
94, thank you.
Yeah.
It's hard to go wrong. I mean, Green Day has had a 30+ year career. I mean, what punk rock band really has had that long? You could maybe Rancid would be the other one, right? So I think just their
Man,
impact has
great
been
reference.
phenomenal. And I just don't think that Green Day gets enough reference or a recognition as musicians. They're a phenomenal band. I mean, they travel with an extra guitar player, have for years. I took my kids to see them in Chicago when the kids were in high school and went in. One of the top 5 bands I've ever seen. Just a terrific band live. And so much fun. I mean, Green Day is, to me, one of the great American. I mean, this band is American. This is an American punk rock band, and I love them. So Green Day's my pick.
Yeah, very, very talented musicians, particularly Trey Cool, is an incredible drummer. And I think Green Day has got to be one of the most fun bands to dashboard drum along to.
Right.
Welcome to Paradise says that great, you know, and I catch myself anytime I'm in the car and a Green Day song is on, I'm banging on the steering wheel.
An
I
American
like how
Idiot, a fabulous album, and one of the best albums of the early 2000s.
I was going to shout that out, Clint, because you said musically talented, right? I'm not really up on my Broadway. I don't know how much of it they wrote or if the Broadway show is just more based on their music, but it is a Broadway show, right? You got to have some talent to be able to do one of those.
Mhm.
And they
Yeah.
single-handedly
Yeah.
saved the Godzilla with Jean Reno and Matthew Broderick. That movie was terrible, but Brain Stew on the soundtrack is a phenomenal Green Day song.
So fun,
I'll take
fun,
that. Yeah.
fun fact. I remember being, in high school and or middle school on my bicycle, going up to Orbit Music. Shout out to one
Hell
of the
yeah.
record stores that are left here in the area. I picked up Metallica Death Magnetic when the day it come out. I picked up American Idiot the day it come out. But I still play that album in its entirety. And then also a great track from Green Day, 21 Guns. I love that track right there. I've
Yeah,
never heard a bad Green Day song in my life.
yeah, that's a
There you
really
Uh,
good
go.
song.
it is, yeah. I love Green Day, and we go back to that punk style scene, emo style of the early 2000s, My Chemical Romance, all those guys, just all those albums coming out together, man, just really shaped uh, what I believe we used to hear modernized, and it's just all good stuff. So,
Well, speaking of other good stuff, Frankie, you're up with your pick, my man.
all righty. Well, doing a little research here. I don't think this one will come as a surprise either. Um, Gonna go back to the Seattle scene. A lot of folks think of, obviously, Rod, Pearl Jam, going to Soundgarden, and Nirvana. One of the bands who have always had a huge influence on me. Let's talk about Lane Staley. Let's talk about Alice in Chains. Man,
So wait a minute. Are you picking Nirvana, Soundgarden, or Alice
I
in
am
Chains?
picking Alice in Chains.
Okay.
Alice in Chains is going to be my pick here. Lane Staley just shaped a style with his own voice. And even though they were a part of that Seattle scene, I think that Alice in Chains sticks out more than not simply because of Lane's background, his style, his voice. Uh, y- you know, Rooster, of course, would go back to his grandfather, I believe that was served in Vietnam, wrote it about him. And then Facelift, their debut album, incredible stuff. So you got a really good mix of metal. You got a mix of that slower, I guess I wouldn't say it like Pearl Jam, but you got a mix of all the sounds on Facelift. Then you had Dirt to come out, and of course, losing Lane Staley in the early 2000s was a big blow to a lot of folks. Lane Staley also was a fellow Trans Am owner. I've had a couple of Trans Ams, and
There you have it.
he said that his Trans Am was a gateway to him as he was trying to get off of all the bad things he was on. He was in an interview and talked about his car um, kept him alive to a point. So
You think he liked Burt Reynolds? And the Bandit, his Trans Am.
Who doesn't like Burt Reynolds?
That's what I'm talking about. When you bring up Trans Am, that's what I'm going to think of. I'm sorry.
But Lane Staley, of course, and then Jerry Cantrell and those guys continuing AIC to this day. I've seen them 4 times now. As they come out, they've got the tribute and the leather jacket, the glasses, and everything. And as they get about halfway through the show, then they break into their modernized stuff. And I just think that Alice in Chains should be noticed as a top 5 of all time for American bands.
I like that you shouted out Jerry Cantrell at least a little bit there near the end. That was definitely a 2-man band. It wasn't just Lane's band. Jerry was responsible for a lot of what was going on with Alice in Chains. That's a good pick though there. Brad, you got any Alice in Chains thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a big AIC fan. And yeah, I mean, they were, I think when, people say grunge, typically I probably Nirvana and Pearl Jam are the first 2 bands that come to mind. But I think Alice in Chains, especially those first 2 or 3 albums that Frank was talking about, really kind of defined that grunge sound, that dark, sludgy, just heavy guitar, dirty grunge sound.
Believe the Freak,
I think Chains,
great example of that. Believe the
I mean,
Freak.
they're definitely, yeah. I mean, they're definitely, in the big 4 of grunge bands. But yeah, a real good pick.
All right, Brad, you get to close out your roster. You have 2 picks to take you up to your final 5.
Man, I mean, this is really tough because there are so many good bands left. Like so many good bands left.
I'm going to be amazed if who I shouted out before doesn't get picked.
No, he's going to get picked.
So just go ahead and do it then.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band.
America's working class hero.
Bruce. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I'll tell you what, I mean, you want to see a great band live. Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band is one of those bands that, like, the first time I saw them was when they first reunited back in, I think, 99. And at that time, I knew the big Bruce hits, but I wasn't a super fan. But I knew how big Bruce Springsteen was, and I knew how big it was that he was getting back together with the E Street Band. So I really wanted to go, and I walked out of that show a massive fan. And like they're just so good. And there is my wife described it as rock and roll church. The first time I took her to see Springsteen, afterwards she's like I feel like I would just spend 3 hours in rock and roll church. It is just it's an experience that is hard to describe unless you are actually there in it and surrounded by thousands of people all singing along, and it is just fun and it is just extraordinary. Great, again, American songs, Heart of New Jersey, Blue Collar, Hardworking Man, all of that stuff. You got to go with Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band as my 4th pick.
All right, real quick here. I'd be remiss if I didn't go to Gary and Clint here, because I've always kind of heard that we really owe Bruce Springsteen for almost single-handedly keeping rock and roll music alive, right? Like, I've always heard the lore that disco was so huge, disco was taking over so much that, like, the only person who the radio could play that wasn't disco was Bruce Springsteen. So I got to ask the 2 gentlemen who were around then, do you guys see it that way, or is that a little bit of myth building?
The gentlemen who are around then. I love him, Gary, don't you? Yeah, you're right. I mean, Born in the USA, which I don't know if you've seen the Bruce Springsteen movie with Jeremy Allen White. It's an okay movie, but one of the more interesting things I found about that movie was he was in the dark depths of doing Nebraska, but at the same time, he was in the studio cutting tracks for what would become Born in the USA. I mean, they even show it in the movie that they're messing around and cutting Born in the USA, and John Landau and the producers are going, "That's the hit," and he's like, "Nope, put it on the shelf." So at the same time, he recorded Nebraska, this dark, brooding album that the label didn't want. He also recorded Born in the USA, one of the biggest albums of all time. And you're right, it was different at the time. And I've never considered myself a big Bruce Springsteen fan, but I saw him on the Tunnel of Love tour, which was technically a solo album. And Bruce Springsteen, I will say to this day, best concert I've ever seen in my life, hands down. And I'm not really a fan, but it was like Brad said, it was like going to a tent revival. It was just amazing. So yeah, I think Boss again, he changed for the MTV era. You know, Gary you probably remember the MTV era and the Dance in the Dark videos. I mean, it was huge.
Courtney Cox.
Courtney Cox, yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing the longevity the guy's had. It's great he's still around. After all these years, I never made it to a show. I don't know if I'd make it through a Springsteen show. That's a long haul.
3 hours. He played
Yeah,
an
it's a long
hour.
haul.
He played an hour after the lights came up.
Yeah,
And he
so-
played another hour when I saw him.
Man, but yeah, hey, good pick all the way around.
He gets after it. He sure does. All right, gentlemen, we've made it. The final round, the pick that will close out all of our teams. Brad starts us off.
Really tough because there are still a lot of great bands out
There's
there.
a band you have not said yet that is very
and-
surprising to me.
There are 20 different bands I could name right now and feel really good about that pick. But I'm gonna kind of stay on this kind of blue collar rock theme. But I'm gonna go from New Jersey to our neighbor up north in Michigan, and I'm gonna go with Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band.
Yes.
You just made my next pick easier. Thank you.
Again, Seeger, just solid blue collar rock and roll, just, relatable songs, a Midwest hero, a Michigan, folk hero, basically, as my wife says, who was born in Michigan, she's, my wife always says that, kids are listening to Bob Seger in the womb. They come out of the womb, singing Night Moves, or,
At that
Hollywood
point, though,
Nights
they
or,
are
whatever.
they are
whatever
they,
it might
they could
be.
use a few pounds,
So-
right? Kids in the womb could definitely use a few pounds. So Night Moves is a good song for them to listen to.
Right, yeah. But and just like a song like I think one of my favorite Seeger songs, like "Roll Me Away," is just a great roll down the windows jam, and it's so hyper local because he's shouting out
Mackinac,
areas in Michigan, but at the same time it's just a fun song, and it's one of those I'm not sure what the word is that I'm looking for, but it's one of those songs that you live vicariously through the main character of that song. He talks about getting on his bike, just taking off and meeting some waitress, and and they take off together, and it's one of those songs like, man, that just sounds like the coolest thing ever.
I was up and around the house Saturday at Brad having coffee, just doing the Saturday morning thing, and I put on the Seeger's Greatest Hits album, and "Roll Me Away" is the first song on that
Yeah.
CD, and just crank it up, man. I'm like you, that's just one of those that I don't know if it made you guys as road songs, but that's a great road song.
Hey.
And Night Moves is one of the iconic albums of my high school years. Oh, I had a lot of fun to Night Moves.
Yeah. I was just gonna say Fire Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
love Fire Lake.
yeah, that's a great one.
There you
But
go.
the thing about Seeger, yeah, Seeger has just an amazing fan base. I mean, Seeger fans are passionate. Yeah,
Mhm.
big time.
Yeah.
I saw
He's got that going. He's always had that going.
Bob, I think it was about 8 years back now on the Runaway Train tour, and like he came out on stage and looked just like your grandpa, right? Like he was wearing gray sweatpants and he had gray hair, you know what I mean? And he had like a bandana on, but he could still wail. Like he sounded almost just like he did on Live Bullet. Yeah. Sounded just like he did on Live Bullet, which in my opinion is the greatest live album anybody has ever performed. Seeger in his home area, Detroit, Michigan, at the height of his powers. I mean, just come on. You play Live Bullet and you are going to have yourself a good time.
And that's the album that put him on the map. I mean, that is the album that turned him into a star.
Yeah. Darn good one to make a star out of you, I'll tell you. If I can listen to that album right now, forget the rest of the podcast. Let's just listen to Live Bullet.
My brother lives in downtown Detroit.
Yeah,
I mean,
go ahead and fire that up.
He's moments away from, the Lions Stadium and Comerica Park and all that. And I first went up there when I was 12. And there's a thing up there called the Woodward Dream Cruise. And if you listen to Horizontal Bop from Bob Seger, he talks about growing up off Woodward and the cars are cruising and they're going looking for girls and all this and that. I've been fortunate enough we've been out there hauling ass and hanging out on Woodward and able to experience what he's talking about in Horizontal Bop. And when you're in Detroit, you've got to blast Bob Seger. And we're just down the road. Bob Seger is unmatched for who he is. So I think that's an incredible pick. Always been one of my favorites.
Horizontal Bop. Speaking of that, Unskinny Bop by Poison. Poison's still on the board. Frankie, you going to take Poison as your fifth and final band?
No, not going to make the cut for me. I'm going to do something here that this is a tough one for me because I've got the last two here and my list has changed now.
Well, not your last two, just one pick. You just need one here. I'm
going to go with Stone Temple Pilots. Always was a big fan of them growing up.
Sticking,
yeah. Here we go. Scott Weiland, nice. Man, I think one of the greatest frontmen of all
that's
time.
who I had for my last pick.
Dang it. I'm sorry, man. I just had to put it out there. Brad and I have talked about STP quite a bit. And just the front man that Scott Weiland was, he was also part of Velvet Revolver, a super group with GNR and forgive me, I can't think of who else was with him.
No, I think it's Slash and the boys.
Man, so we're going to Interstate Love Song, Vaseline, Big Empty, out of '94. That was Purple debuted #1 on the Billboard 200, and going all the way into 2001. Days of the Week, not a song folks really listen to a whole lot. That's in my playlist quite a bit. So, I love STP. And I think they deserve to be on the list.
There we go. You put them on your list, Frankie. Clint, your final pick.
Brad, thank you for picking Seeger because he was one I was struggling with as for my final pick. So thanks for getting him out there. So for my final pick, I'm not, although I want to, but I'm not going to pick Talking Heads, who I adore. I'm not going to pick the Ramones, who I adore. I am, for my final pick, going to choose Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Really?
Because when it comes to quintessential, when it comes to quintessential American rock and roll band, 60s, 70s, I mean, you look at the massive, just the sheer number of hits that they had. There was a point there, I think they were releasing an album every 6-8 months. I mean, it was just bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
Ultimately kind of ended the demise of the band, right? Because Tom Fogerty just couldn't take it anymore and had to leave. And Chronicle, the Greatest Hits album, is still one of the top selling rock and roll albums of all time. People don't realize that. But
Clint, I'm sorry to interrupt, but just June of 2026, just this month of this year, it hit its 800th week being in the top 200.
Yeah.
So how good of you to shout it out there.
It's just been consistently in the top 200. Yeah. Because people talk about Rumors and, of course, Pink Floyd, the run that it had. That's a whole different area.
And Bob Marley Legend, that's the other one that's been around that long, too.
Massive band. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, massive band. Great influence, very unique. Nobody sounds like CCR. Everybody thought they were from New Orleans, but they're really from California. But they had that swamp rock sound going on. Just a unique, influential, quintessential American sound. You don't hear a sound like that from bands from any other country. So my final pick, CCR.
Speaking of American sound, we all kind of shouted out the Beatles a little bit at the beginning of this podcast. You want to know who outsold the Beatles in 69 and 70? How about Creedence Clearwater Revival, baby? How about the Fogerty brothers just cranking out hits? You got to love Fogerty as well. Inducted into the Weaver Songwriting Hall of Fame. I mean, that guy is just a prolific songwriter. Literally got sued for plagiarizing himself on a weird deal. You know what I mean? Like, Fogerty could write some tracks.
Yeah.
All right, Gary, your final pick, my man.
Phenomenal.
All right. Hey, thank you. Man, I tell you, Frank, good call on the Stone Temple Pilots. I was trying to stay kind of hip with all my old school picks. I was going to pick STP. So now I'm in a quandary. I mean, I'm going to throw you guys for a big loop, but I'm going with the Cars.
Whoa.
Good pick.
Rick Ocasek. I mean, those guys, man, I love the Cars. They stayed together as long as they could. Rick Ocasek or Ben Orr died, and then Rick Ocasek, and they actually after Ben Orr died, they did another album, another one you should check out. It was around 2012. The Cars did an album, just the four remaining members without Ben Orr, and it's fantastic. But yeah, I got to go with the Cars. I just Candy O.
My
That
favorite,
album
that's my
cover,
favorite Cars album.
that album cover. And what real quick, I'm sorry, Brad, but back to Molly Hatchet with Frank, great album artwork. Artwork was so phenomenal for all these bands we're talking about. And the Cars for sure, Candio and just, going with the Cars.
And we were talking about great debut albums earlier. The Cars debut album.
Oh, yeah.
Is another one that is almost a greatest hits album.
Yeah.
I knew it.
And just another little band out of Boston.
I've got a pick, and it is a band who actually has the record for the most Grammys. Another way that we might be able to judge performance that we have yet to bring up on this podcast. This band has won the Grammy for Best Rock Album 5 times. This band has a member who is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice as a member of 2 different bands. But don't give me his original band. Give me the band he's the front man of. Give me Foo Fighters. That way I get Dave Grohl. I get a band who is currently still doing new albums, currently still out there touring. I've got a connection to Nirvana, and I have generally one of the greatest dudes in all of rock. I challenge you to find an interview with Dave Grohl and come away with it not liking that man, all right? He just seems like a big kid who loves rock and roll music and is having the greatest time in the world. And when you see Foo Fighters live, it comes out on stage. They play for about 2.5 straight hours, and Dave Grohl's having the time of his life. It does not seem strained at all, and I appreciate that.
I would like to be friends with Dave Grohl.
I think everybody would.
I would just like to hang out with the guy.
Yeah. Grohl seems like just a great hang.
To me, it still feels like the Foo Fighters are a new band. They do. I'm like, oh, they're a new band. It's like their first album came out, 32 years ago?
Yeah, the video was making fun of Mentos, remember? The video was making fun of Mentos. When was the last time anybody ate a Mentos?
Yeah. Big me.
Right. But they're not. I mean, clearly been around a long time, but it seems to me like they're a new band. And that's a great pick, Rod, and one I hadn't even considered.
You know who the Foo Fighters are a big fan of?
Chicago Cubs?
Rush.
He managed to get Rush in here, didn't he?
There we go.
He managed to get Rush in.
They inducted Rush into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They did. That's a good call. That's right.
They also.
I just got to bring it full circle. Hey, I just got to bring it full circle, Rod.
That's why you're professional, Gary. That's why you're professional.
They also one time, I don't know when, but they were doing a Halloween show and they came out on stage like dressed as classic 70s era Rush.
The robes. They brought the robes out. Yeah.
Speaking of that, check out their album.
Search that up on YouTube.
Yeah, you can also check out their album where they go by the name The DGs, and they completely cover Bee Gees tracks. It's absolutely phenomenal, right? They've brought Rick Astley out on stage before. I mean, just continuing the Dave Grohl likes to have a good time. We had a good time drafting our 5 favorite rock bands. As I stated at the top, it's not up to us 5 gentlemen to argue who the winner is. It is up to you out there in listener land to vote. To help make it easier for you, all of us will recap our 5 picks here real quick before we are out the door. Brad, you started the draft, so you tell everybody your 5 bands.
Can it be before I do the quick recap? Let me just, I want to shout out some of the bands that were not chosen.
Sure.
To again give you an idea of how many great American bands there are. The Beach Boys. Possibly, I've made this argument, the Beach Boys is the greatest American rock band of all time, yet I didn't pick them. The Grateful Dead, The Doors, Heart, the Doobie Brothers, Guns N' Roses, Bon Jovi, Journey were not chosen. Clint mentioned Talking Heads, Nirvana not chosen. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Santana on my shirt, Blondie, Styx, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. So just, I mean, there's so many great American rock bands out there.
REO.
REO Speedwagon, REM.
Foreigner.
Yeah.
Billy Idol. And that's a solo artist, right? That doesn't count.
I think Billy Idol's
and,
English,
and
too.
And Billy Idol's also from England.
Yeah, he's English.
But yeah.
Huey Lewis is standing over on the wall somewhere with a beer wanting some of this conversation. Huey Lewis in the News.
Yeah.
Hey, I love me some Huey Lewis in the News.
Oh, they're from overseas.
The Black Crows.
No,
the Black
good
Crows
stuff.
might like a
Great
little bit of this
stuff.
conversation. Right? If we want to get a little bit newer, Rage Against the
Crows.
Machine. Rage Against the Machine might want some of this conversation. Linkin Park might want some of this
Big fan.
conversation. Smashing
Big
Pumpkins, right? The Smashing Pumpkins might want a little bit of this conversation. So there are certainly a lot of bands out there that we did not pick.
Yeah, I mean,
But you know, that's
we
what the
could have done
internet's
our
for.
top 25.
Yeah, that's what we said the internet's for. You guys can yell at us, right? That's the comments are great. It's engagement. That's what we're looking for here. Yell at us all you want.
Yeah.
And here, real quick, and then I'll recap my picks. Here's a couple some wild cards, not necessarily massively big in terms of record sales or anything, but very influential. Los Lobos, Sly and the Family Stone, the Isley Brothers, and George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic.
Listen, I would have picked any one of those last 3 if
there
I'd
you
have known
go.
they were
All right.
eligible.
Now the actual.
I love the Isley Brothers. It's Your Thing might be the greatest song ever
all right,
recorded
so
in American history.
My picks. That's a good tune. All right, my picks were Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Van Halen, Metallica, Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, and Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band.
Nice. I like
Very
how
happy with my 5.
Brad almost leaned towards solo artists there. He got Bruce, he got Tom, and he got Bob Seger. He got all 3 of them with their backing bands. Frank, you're up next.
He's got the Andas.
Yeah.
You know, we had a lot of runners up, and you know, I'm a big Southern rock and roll guy, so my head normally goes to like Marshall Tucker Band. That'll be a runner up. Allman Brothers Band. I think we talked about them quite a bit. You know, the list I believe for what this could have been is endless. Just incredible music throughout the decades. That's what we're here for. We're Classic Rock 97.7 ZOW. We play you the best. But we want you to help us choose who's got the best list. My list entails Leonard Skinner. It also entailed Molly Hatchet. We also did Montrose, and we did Alice in Chains and Stone Temple Pilots. So you do with that what you will. Those were my picks right there. And yeah.
I love it. Frank just cut a wrestling promo right there. Wait till I go. Clint, you're up.
yeah, thanks for the station promo. Again, honorable mentions, Talking Heads, the Ramones, and I almost threw out Alice Cooper just to hear you guys argue whether or not Alice Cooper's a band.
No, yeah.
Which the original band was called Alice Cooper.
I'd have allowed it.
And then he adopted the name. I almost threw that out there just to watch you guys argue about it.
Yeah, Alice Cooper Group was on my list.
Yeah, I had them on my list as well. But my top 5 ended up being the Eagles, my all-time favorite band in the world, the hottest band in the land, Kiss, ZZ Top, Green Day, and Creedence Clearwater Revival. That would make a great playlist for anybody.
That's a heck of a concert to go see. I can't disagree with you there. Gary Hagman, what's your lineup?
Man, I don't remember what I picked. No, I'm kidding. What?
Who
Okay.
who had the
Let me
beer?
look at my notes. No, Cheap Trick, Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble. Who else? Boston, the Steve Miller Band, and the Cars.
There we go.
And I just want to throw in a little plug. I just want to throw in a quick plug for a band that you probably haven't heard of, but King's X, a
Great
trio,
band.
a
Yeah, great
trio,
band.
yeah, trio out of Houston. So good.
Great
And
band.
yeah, they very underrated and didn't get the commercial success that they deserved. But yeah, so thank you. It's been fun, guys.
There's one other honorable mention band that I wanted to throw out, and it's only one person, but it is technically a band. It's the White Stripes, but the only reason that I would throw the White Stripes out is for Jack White, who I want to make a prediction here will play the Super Bowl halftime for the NFL within the next couple of years, maybe even this year. He's starting to raise his profile like that. He's pretty well accepted amongst most people, plays a pretty soft brand of music in rock and roll, right? We all know that Jack White has certainly many opinions, but it is just cut and dried rock and roll, which you could sneak past the NFL executive. So wouldn't be surprised to see him playing the Super Bowl. He's not on my list though, but my list is full of bands you will be happy to vote for, and they are as follows. I have Aerosmith, one of the greatest hit makers in American history. I have the Allman Brothers Band, one of the most respected bands in American history. I have Pearl Jam, one of the only bands out of the Seattle scene that managed to stay together and keep at it and still do it after all of these years. I have Steely Dan, who literally nobody can do it better in the studio than Studio Dan, Steely Dan. And my fifth pick is the Foo Fighters. So I'm spanning there. I'm spanning the globe, baby. We're going
Great
back.
man.
We're coming forward. We're down south. We're playing California. We're doing it all. So you can vote for my list and none of these other lists make me a champion again. I am currently undefeated on the rock draft. It makes sense for the host to be undefeated. I will attempt to continue my undefeated streak. Gentlemen, I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules this evening to join me. You all did wonderfully. You are welcome back on Rock Draft anytime.
Also, that live album right over your shoulder, Brad, has been peeking at me. That's awesome. So
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
yeah,
Yeah, it's actually a DVD set. But yeah, it's really cool. It's a bunch of the different performances at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, including possibly the greatest live performance ever, the Tom Petty Prince
Well, my
Jeff
guitar
Lynne
gently
performance
weeps.
of While My
Yeah.
Guitar Gently
Yeah.
Weeps, which is really the entire reason I bought that box set is just for
Nice.
that.
Taking it back to Tom Petty, who Brad drafted with the first overall draft pick in this draft. We are Rock Draft, a podcast in association with Classic Rock 97.7 ZOW. I want to thank Brad and everybody up there for allowing me to do this podcast. I want to thank Jimmy Jamriska for all the hard work he does behind the scenes producing this. And until we come back next time, remember, keep rocking.